Welcome to Kimmy Talks. Today is the first of the Investment and Capital series. I am so excited to introduce real estate Ryon. I have worked with Ryon for a few years now. He's really impressed me on where he started and where he is now. It's incredible. I'm so excited to have you here, Ryon. Thank you so much for coming. So we're gonna kind of kick it off with me getting a little personal. Is that okay?
That's awesome. I'm ready.
Awesome. So how old were you when you first bought your first investment property?
I was 17 years old when I bought my first property. I didn't know what I was doing. I just seen, a lot of investors doing it or successful people owning property, and I decided to jump in.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. You were a baby.
A little guy.
And do you remember that property? Was it a single family, multifamily?
Well, the first property I actually bought was a riverfront property. I bought it off.
Go big or go home, right?
Exactly. It was cheap. I seen it on Marketplace. Okay. I bought it for $3,500, and it was swampland. I couldn't do much with it. But over time, I held for about 2 years, and that $3,500 investment turned into $17,500. That's what I sold it for. Okay. I had the right buyer come through at the right time and offered me, way more than I paid for it.
Awesome.
Yep.
So fast forward to today, how many flips would you say you do in a year? And I know they're not all flips. Some of them you hold, others you sell. But how many investment transactions would you say now you do in a year?
I try to do 10 to 15 a year, whether it be flips or rentals. I try to keep it going. If I buy one, I'm already looking for 2 more. I'm already on top of it.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So you've grown into this real estate empire,
correct,
if you will. Yep. That's really cool. And so now let's talk a little bit about the capital piece. So, especially when you first started, you didn't just have $100 grand laying around
correct.
To jump into something like this. And I heard you say that you actually held that property for 2 years. So now you and I are having conversations every month on almost every week on new properties, and things are happening really fast for you, right? So you must have built that capital to position yourself in the right way to be able to do that, to be able to do several transactions a month.
Yep.
So share with us a little bit about that journey, how you got from getting your first property, having to hold it for 2 years, and then now today where you're doing several all in, just a month's time.
So starting off, I was in a spot where I was buying rental properties, and it was right around the beginning of COVID. And it kind of was a bad situation. I bought these properties, I was putting money into them. COVID hit, Nobody wanted to pay rent. So I hit a spot where I was in
great time to get in the business.
And I didn't have any credit back then. I wasn't able to finance these homes or anything like that. So I went through owner financing or seller financing. I put a down payment and paid the rest monthly income. And without them paying me rent, this was all out of pocket. So I decided to sell those. I decided to sell a few of those properties off, and built up enough capital to buy some bigger investments. Once those bigger investments came, I did a few flips. I kept flipping, and it got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm actually not holding value. I'm in a spot where I'm chasing the next dollar.
Yeah.
So that's where the rental came back around. Rent started going up, and I invested that way. But now that my money's tied up in these flips and these rentals, I was like, what do I do now? And that's where you come in. I've actually refinanced my first property with you. Awesome. I've never done it in the past. I'd never done it before. And once
I remember that one.
I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, now we're in a spot where I can reinvest the money. I pulled the reinvestment money back out. I refinanced it, and I was able to do another, and then another. And then before you know it, you're doing 4, 5, 6 at once.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so now I want to, since you touched on it a little bit, I want to talk about something called stacking. In the investment space, a lot of people don't really understand that concept. And so I'd love to talk about it a little bit, especially with you, because you literally have it down. I reach out to a lot of investors that, don't fully understand the concept of stacking your financing. And so what that means is, Ryan, you will purchase your property, say it's $45,000 with hard money, right?
Correct.
And then once the renovations are complete, you'll come to the bank and do a refinance, a cash out refinance, or if you can't get bank financing at that time due to the property's situation, or if the numbers don't make sense to hold the property, you will then decide to sell it. So I just want to touch a little bit more on that, because I think so many people are afraid of that concept of hard money.
Yeah.
It really scares people. And you even touched on seller financing. That's something that, really freaks out a lot of people. So can you shed a little light on your experience with hard money? Because I know you've been doing it for years. And even seller financing, right? You and I are doing a deal right now with seller financing, and it doesn't have to be scary. You're not giving up your interest or your equity in the property. It's really a great strategy. So if you could just touch a little bit on that.
Well, the difference between like seller financing and hard money lending is seller financing, you can come up with a reasonable interest rate and a reasonable payment term with the seller. Mm-hmm. And it puts you in a position of leverage at that point. Because you're paying this monthly payment, you're paying the principal. The goal is to put a tenant in that property and actually pay the payment for you, and walk away with some cash in the long run. Hard money, on the other hand, there's a huge advantage there.
Yeah.
You can secure the property, you can use your construction reserves to fix the property, and then that's where you have the year to refinance it. And basically you're coming out of this property with little to no money down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of leverage there. People worry about the interest rates. People worry about I guess they look at the numbers too much. If you don't trust yourself enough to have the ambition to get this property done, it's probably not for you.
Yeah.
It's for builders. It's people that want to grow fast. And you have to move fast and you have to move smart. You don't want to buy an inner city property that the house is selling next door for $100,000 and you're paying $70,000 for this. No, you want to focus on the ARV value.
Yeah.
You want your values to make sense. You want to buy in the right neighborhood. I can't express enough. I always say, buy the worst house in the best neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because your value is always going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we're learning, especially now in this market, is once a property hits the market, the actual market, it's almost not even worth it anymore. So it seems like where the deals are at is before they hit the market, right?
Correct. That's why I focus on a lot of off-market deals. I try to buy. We actually have a program that finds us off-market deals where we can pick and choose what we're looking at. And we're not fighting with 20 other investors trying to buy this property.
Yeah.
We can come in, we can negotiate terms, or we can buy it hard money, fix the property up, rent it out, or sell it. It's just, the world is endless in the real estate, You can just keep going no matter what.
Awesome. I love it. So one last thing I wanted to talk about is very recently you have positioned yourself to be able to break into the commercial space.
Correct.
So you're still very heavy in the residential investing space. But would you say that journey led you into this bigger commercial space that you're entering into now?
One thing I remember is when I first started the residential real estate, there was a guy that sold me a commercial property, my first commercial property, and I learned a lot from him. Because that's what he did. He started residential, went commercial, and he's been nothing but successful since. So I've kind of tried to follow in that those footsteps. You got to look up to the people that are doing the right thing and building, and that's who you want to focus on. You want to focus on the builders and the people that are going to elevate your life, you know?
Yeah.
Don't focus on who's doing wrong. Focus on who's willing to build your life along with theirs.
Right, and I love that because so many people are almost like grossed out by networking
Correct.
with these powerhouse people. But in fact, networking with those people is going to get you where you want to go. Learn from them, network with them. Those are actually going to ultimately be your people.
Yeah.
And what I really want to talk about before we wrap this up is networking and your team. I mean, you have really, I say you built an empire, but it's an empire that works with like this perfectly functioning team underneath you. And so, you know, how did you get that team? Was it, you know, one day you woke up and you were like, oh, everything's in place? Or was it a journey? Was it kind of a challenge to get the right contractors and the right social media people and the right financing and all of that? I mean, I'm sure that was a journey for you.
So yeah, it's been quite the situation building the right team. I went through trial and error. I went through contractors that said they knew everything and they've actually known nothing. You know, projects got messed up. You had to go back and fix it. I've been through times where, like I said, I'm in a spot right now where I'm building properties in Florida. I know nobody down there to fix these properties, but that's where networking and asking questions, it's free.
Yeah.
It's free to network. It's free to ask questions. You have to be willing to do it. You have to stop being scared and take that next jump and go to that next level. That's what it mainly wraps up to, you know?
Well, thank you so much, Ryan. This has been awesome. I know that our viewers are going to love it. Next week, we are going to dive into the third series of Kimmy Talks, which is power moves and power players. So I can't wait to see all of you next week. And if you ever need to get in touch with Ryan, how can we do that?
Real Estate Ryan on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Wonderful. And of course, if you ever need any financing or consulting, Ryan and I are both here. Of course, me on the financing side of things, and Ryan on the real estate. So thanks again, Ryan.
You're welcome.
And I can't wait to see